Hey there, how there, ho there, Chef Cutter Diamond welcome you to yet another Cutter Top 10 video, and we will be following the top 10 World Junior Hockey upsets in history. The World Juniors is full of fun and frivolity, and seeing 10 nations go head to head with the future stars of tomorrow, whether it be in the NHL or the KHL or the AHL or even in Europe with like the Swedish, Finnish, and uh, Norwegian leagues. Anyhow, we're going to be looking at the top 10 upsets in history and all that. So, buckle up. Our first upset at number 10 is Switzerland beating Sweden in the 2002 World Juniors. Switzerland had a lot of things going for them, but not really a good junior team. Sweden, almost as always, were being one of the best moments of all time. Nevertheless, Switzerland stunned Sweden in the quarterfinals, getting to the semifinals for the first time in World Juniors history and proving to themselves that they were fantastic. Number 9 is Norway against Slovakia in 1991. It was a huge one. Well, this was the 1991 tournament in which Canada took on the Soviets in one of the greatest gold medal uh, games ever. But anyway, in the group stage, Norway took on Slovakia and took them out 4-3. I feel like 1991 is wrong because Slovakia wasn't a country yet. But nevertheless, yeah, I think this was a qualification thing. But anyway, Norway ended up beating Slovakia, earning their only top flight World Juniors victory ever. It's so shocking because Norway has given us Epson Knudsen and a few other players, but not who we think they are. Number 8 is Czechia beating Canada and ending Canada's preliminary round winning streak of 21. In the group stages, well, the preliminary round is kind of the group stages where you face 4 teams in your own group and you play. Canada had been unscathed for 5 years, but on opening day in 2023, Czechia took care of Canada 5-2. Well, Czechia used to be called the Czech Republic, but that's what they call themselves now. So Canada couldn't believe it. They were the defending champs. They were outplayed by the Czechs, and they had troubles. If I remember correctly, was this the tournament in which Canada lost in the quarterfinals? Thanks to that missed penalty shot? Probably, but I don't know. Anyway, number 7 is Latvia defeating Slovakia in 2022. Slovakia were a very good team with youngsters and all that. Latvia would only be known for Carlos Krakens and Arturs Urbe. But Latvia had some guys, I think Gregersons also played for Latvia. But yeah, this isn't the World Hockey Championships. This is the World Juniors, where things are a little bit bigger and brighter. But yeah, Latvia took care of Slovakia in the preliminary round, finally winning a match at the World Juniors, and there would be a lot of development. Number 6 is a massive minnow, and that was Denmark. Um, in 2015, as Denmark went to the tournament in Canada, well, in Toronto and Montreal, trying to prove themselves. They were a minnow. Denmark hockey, compared to most European nations, is not really that big. But they've had some great players and all that. And then Denmark took care of Switzerland and the Czechs, getting into the quarterfinals. Even though they lost in the quarters, they made it there, and a lot of people were shocked they got that far. Number 5 is Germany over Canada 2021. COVID-19 protocols happened, and Germany had a depleted squad, very depleted. Fortunately, though, they had enough players to play against Canada. Canada had a chance to lose, but somehow Germany took care of things. They didn't beat Canada, but they actually lost narrowly. However, in the quarterfinals, they took care of Slovakia, which got them to the semifinals, and it was a highlight for German junior hockey. Number 4 is Belarus beating Finland in 2001. Belarus, in their juniors, would take on Finland, and in the preliminary round, Finland couldn't believe it. They lost to Belarus 3-2 in overtime. the Belarus national hockey team would the next year, like the men's team, the men's senior team would pull off a massive upset against Sweden in the 2002 Olympics, winning the quarterfinals and paving the road for Canada to do well. But yeah, the Belarusian juniors did their job. Number three is Slovakia versus beating Sweden in 2015. Sweden were looking pretty impressive and all that. They kept winning in group stages and all that. And then in 2015, in the quarterfinals in the tournament in Toronto, they took on Slovakia. The junior teams were heckle and jive, but Jekyll and Hyde, if you will. Sweden had a chance to take down Slovakia, but Slovakia produced, winning 3-2. The World Juniors team actually took bronze, which was pretty impressive for themselves. Number two is Kazakhstan in 1999 against the United States. People didn't realize how big it was, but yeah, Kazakhstan defeating the United States was massive because of the fact that the Kazakhs actually never won in the top division of the World Juniors, like the top groups. The Americans, of course, with NHL prospects, whereas Canada always had them, the big six, were caught off guard by the speed and optimism, and the Kazakhs won in the group stage. And finally, number one is Switzerland in the quarterfinals against Russia in 2010. It was big. Russia always seemed to have everyone's numbers and all that. In Saskatoon, Russia looked like they were going to take care of Switzerland and make themselves look good. Unfortunately, though, Switzerland would stun them 3-2 in the quarterfinals, proving their prowess and all that. Russia had a star-studded lineup, and it didn't work out that way. So that's just kind of dumb. But you know what? Yeah, the runtime's a little low. I'm gonna add another thing. Yep, I'm gonna add another one. We're gonna so we are gonna add some more. We're gonna add another one. So anyway. So let's just go to another World Juniors thing. Most memorable World Junior gold medal games. And all that if we want to get going. So, there are a lot of major matchups and all that. So just gonna do some work and all that. So got some era-defining moments for gold medal games and all that. So that's the way it goes. All right, so here are the top 10 World Junior gold medal games of all time. And the World Junior upsets. We're going to do World Junior gold medals. Gold medal games. There is a honorable mention, and that was 1987 Canada versus Soviet Union in Petershtani. This was the final group game between Canada and the Russians and all that. Canada needed a win for silver, but a win by 4 or more would have given them the gold. They were assured the bronze, even if they lost or tied. The Soviets had nothing to play for, and of course, those pesky Soviets decided to, like, they had nothing to lose, so they basically go to Canada into doing some bad things, and Canada lost its cool and lost a medal. Like Canada was not given a medal at all. Anyway, here's the top 10. Number 10 is the 2012 final in Calgary between Sweden and Russia. Russia had screwed Canada over for gold in the semifinals, meaning Canada could not compete on home turf for a World Junior gold medal. So it was up to the mighty Swedes to do something about it. The last time Sweden won a gold medal in the World Juniors was 1981. And in that one, it was a big one, as Sweden would actually play in the 20-minute overtime, and halfway through overtime, Mika Zibanejad, currently of the New York Rangers, swooped in to the left side, scored off of Georgiev, and the Swedes beat Russia, finally breaking a 30-year drought for a World Junior gold medal. Even when Peter Forsberg was breaking records, they didn't win a gold medal. So it was just emotional that the Swedes would finally do it. And yet, of course, the Canadian fans were cheering for Sweden because you don't cheer for Russia. Are you fucking nuts? Number 9 is Canada USA in Finland. This one had all the makings of a true iconic battle and all that. So in in Finland, Canada would face the US for gold medal because, those two countries just hate each other and all that. Americans never won a World Juniors gold medal in history. And then 2004 was their lucky break. At 4-4, at 4-4, Marc-Andre Fleury, the goalie for Canada, tried to shoot it down the ice, but he hit the back of a defenseman, Braden Colburn, and slid into the net. The Americans hung on and won 5-4, giving the Americans their first ever World Junior gold medal. And Canada eating crow. Fortunately, though, Canada would get the revenge the next year. Number 8 is the 2017 shootout between US and Canada in Montreal. It was a 4-4 battle after 3 periods of play. And then Canada and the US had to go to a shootout in international. Well, of course, every team gets 3 shooters, and then what ends up happening is that after 3 shooters, it'll be 1-on-1, sudden death, and you can put anyone you want to shoot. And Troy Terry of the US scored the winning goal as the US beat Canada to win the gold medal on Canadian soil, no less. And Thomas Chabot was named tournament MVP. Number 7 is Finland, Russia 2016. Finland were rocking and reeling at home, and then all of a sudden, Russia scored with like 5 seconds left to force it to overtime, but then Sweden, I can't remember the player's name, but I think it was the Buffalo guy, not Byron. Well, anyway, the Swedish player put up a perfect wraparound, flushed through Kasperi Kapanen, put it in the net, and Finland, on home turf in Helsinki, beat the mighty Russians and won the gold medal. Number 6 is Canada-Russia 2020 in Ostrava, Czech Republic. And no, this is not a COVID-shortened tournament. This was in January 2020, a couple of months before the world shut down. Canada and Russia really hated each other. And then they went for a gold medal on a Sunday afternoon in Ostrava. It was 4-3 when Akil Thomas, out of nowhere, the only Canadian forward not to score a goal in the World Juniors, potted one with 3 minutes left in the third period, beat the Russians 4-3. And Akil Thomas did a lot for, African American hockey players and also for himself, for Canada taking care of Russia. Number 5 is Canada-Russia from Saskatoon, 1991. In what would be the last gold medal to be decided by group stage instead of the medal round. Canada would take on the Russians. Of course, this would be Russia's final junior team before the dissolution of the nation to like Latvia, Belarus, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, you name it. Nevertheless, the Canadians took on the powerful Russians. In a shocking development, Canada needed Russia to choke against Finland in the previous game to have any chance for their game to be for gold. Fortunately, Finland pulled off a miracle, winning 5-4 against the Russians, meaning that Canada needed to beat the Russians for gold medal. And it was a tight game 2-2. This was when Eric Lindros was dominating. And then a slap shot from John Slaney from the point from Newfoundland put it in the net. Canada won 3-2 over the Soviets. So yeah, John Slaney was huge. And this would actually be big for TSN, the Canadian uh, cable network for hockey, because they took over the rights of the World Juniors from CBC, who basically only showed like one or two matches and all that, and only if Canada was playing. So they decided to show every Canada game and all that, and it actually worked out quite well. Number 4 is Canada Sweden 2008. It was a dramatic game and all that. Canada getting to the finals was hard enough as is because they had to deal with the United States in overtime in a shootout. Jonathan Tays had to take the shot 3 times to put it in the net. The Americans kept fighting it, but then the Americans tried to score on Carey Price, failed miserably. And Canada had done it. They had beaten the Americans to get to the final against Sweden. It was a tough game. Jordan Eberle would be the hero with his dramatic goal against the Swedes. And then seconds later, Matt Helischuk scored the winning goal for Canada in overtime. And who does he play for? Kitchener. That's right, former Kitchener Ranger Matt Helischuk. Number 3 is the 2015 final between Canada and Canada and Russia in Toronto. Relentless offense. Russia had some great players. Canada had kind of a dream team, kind of like the 2005 team and the 95 team with the dramatic gold teams, like all that great teams, like, the Sidney Crosby teams and all that. But anyway, yeah, they had Connor McDavid, Max Domi, and Sam Reinhart on the same team. That's pretty impressive nowadays. But yeah, Canada would hold up Russia 5-4. It was a tight game. Canada was up 5-1 and then nearly choked it away. 2015, I was optimistic about 2015 being my year for things because, had a decent 2014 personally. And then with me, Bill, and a few of our friends watching the game at Morty's in Waterloo, Canada beat Russia. I was thinking 2015 would be my year. Unfortunately, though, the door slammed in my face as Target, Target Canada, where I worked, said they were going to bail out of Canada by March 2015. Had some personal financial problems, and then, unfortunately, I couldn't find work for like 3-4 years, so that just sucked. But yeah, 2015 just pulled the rug underneath me. Number 2 is 2011 Russia versus Canada in Buffalo. Canada looked pretty impressive. They had taken care of Russia 3-0 through 2 periods, and it was like almost game over, and Canada was going to win their 6th gold in 7 years because, we had a 5-year consecutive streak broken by those pesky Americans in Saskatoon. So anyway, Canada looked good, but then for some strange reason, Byzantine couldn't stop the puck if he wanted to, and Russia scored 5 straight goals, winning 5-3. And all the Canadian fans that came all the way down towards Buffalo from pretty much Ontario were just stunned silent. And the Russians had basically ruined us. And at number 1 is Canada Sweden 2009 from Ottawa. Although I could kind of say that why don't we do 2005 Canada versus Russia? Because, the 2005 team was a great team of their generation and all that. And, they stomped Russia because Russia looked good. They had Ovechkin on that team, but Dion Phaneuf did a famous double Dion hit where he bumped one Russian and then but it bounced into another Russian, and then Canada scored a goal from that. Canada crushed Russia easily. But Canada winning the 2009 gold medal was huge because, well, of course, 2005 was the first gold medal in years for Canada. And then 2009 was the end of their drive for 5. winning 5-1. It's John Tavares and PK Subban Sean on the Ottawa Ice. Now, of course, let's not forget that they almost didn't make it. The reason being is because of the fact that um, Russia nearly had Canada. Russia was up 5-4 on Canada late in the third period, and they failed a couple times to dump the puck over the blue line, which meant Canada had to go back and retrieve it. The puck found its way to Jordan Eberle in front of the net. He tied the game, and Canada went into delirium and then won in the shootout. So, yeah, that's just what happens in World Junior Hockey. Anyhow, I'm Jeff Diamond. Adieu.